Welcome everyone to this explainer for History of Kentucky HIS 240. Whether you're a massive history buff or you're just taking this college-level survey class to fulfill a requirement, I am absolutely thrilled to have you here. Today, I'm going to walk you through the exact step-by-step roadmap you'll be following for every single module this semester. By the time we wrap this up, you'll know exactly what's expected of you each week, how to tackle the coursework efficiently, and honestly, how to truly master this material. Let's get right into it. Every single module you encounter this semester is laid out in the exact same format. The agenda for each week looks like this. First, overview and historian mindset. Second, the historical question. Third, context and knowledge check. Fourth, evidence and analysis. And fifth, the final reflection.
All right, let's start with Section 1, Overview and Historian Mindset.
So the very first thing you're going to see in each module is the chapter overview, and this is really where you get your bearings for the week. Look, the overarching goal of this course goes way beyond just memorizing dry facts about Kentucky's past. We want you to identify, discuss, and deeply analyze major historical shifts like statehood and industrialization. And to do that, you need a specific framework. You need to learn how to think like a historian. Notice how this four-step process of historical inquiry right here perfectly mirrors your weekly assignment progression. First, we ask a historical question to identify a problem. Second, we gather context, figuring out what we need to know before we investigate. Third, we analyze evidence from our texts. And fourth, we reflect on how that evidence actually shaped our understanding. Now listen, this is the most crucial takeaway. You literally must progress through the modules sequentially. I really cannot emphasize this enough. Every single task in this course builds directly on the foundation of the previous one. If you try to jump ahead to the major assignment without doing the background reading, or you try to take a quiz before laying down your initial thoughts, the whole learning system just breaks down. Seriously, trust the process. Work through the materials in the exact order they're presented, and you are going to set yourself up for total success. Moving on to Section 2, the historical question. Your actual journey into the module material always kicks off with an assignment called the historical question. This is the very first graded task you'll do, and it acts as the springboard for literally everything else that week. Before you even crack open the chapter, we present you with a specific problem. So, for example, you might be asked, was Kentucky an empty wilderness before European settlement? The whole goal here is to just anchor your mindset and give you a specific lens to look through before you dive into the reading and lectures. Now, please do not stress out about this initial assignment. You're simply providing your current knowledge or honestly just your very best guess in 2 to 4 sentences. Let me reiterate this so it's super clear. There is absolutely no right or wrong answer at this stage. It's worth 5 points, and you get those points just by answering the question thoughtfully based on whatever you happen to already know today. Think of this assignment as your starting baseline. The instructions explicitly point out that you might completely change your mind as you learn more throughout the week. And honestly, that is exactly what we expect to happen. The entire point of education is letting your perspective evolve based on new information. We just need to know where you're starting from so you have a personal benchmark to measure your own learning against later on. Okay, on to Section 3, context and knowledge check. Once you got your baseline guess locked in, it is time to build your foundation. Establishing historical context is absolutely critical. Reading the assigned chapters is vital. You really need to develop a generalized knowledge of the time, place, peoples, and events. And while you read, be actively hunting for evidence that might support or refute that initial historical question you just answered. On top of the reading, you also need to view the chapter summary videos and all supplementary videos provided in the module. Don't skip these. They aren't optional extras. They're essential pieces of your contextual foundation that really bring the readings to life. After you've absorbed all that context, you're going to take the knowledge check. This is a quiz specifically designed to test your generalized knowledge of the chapter material, meaning you have to know the material prior to taking this quiz. It's 10 multiple choice questions, worth 10 points total. It's timed at 30 minutes, and you've got to complete it in one sitting, so definitely make sure you have a quiet spot and a solid internet connection. But here is the great news. You get 2 attempts, and the system automatically keeps your highest grade. You'll notice the module overview document outlines these sequential expectations right from the jump. See how the knowledge check directly follows the historical context? You have to master this generalized foundational knowledge first. If you don't, you're going to struggle immensely with the next most heavily weighted assignment in the module. Building up that baseline knowledge just ensures you're totally ready for deeper analysis. Which brings us to Section 4, Evidence and Analysis. All right, this is a crucial part of the module. It's worth 35 points, so it definitely requires your utmost attention. This is where you prove you can truly think like a historian. So, unlike that initial guess you made earlier, you now have to answer the historical question again. But this time around, your answer has to be fully backed by specific information and evidence that you found in the course content. Your final answer can be a simple yes or no, and it absolutely does not have to be the same answer you gave earlier in the week. What matters now is your ability to defend your claim using hard facts.
So, defending your claim means you need to identify 3 distinct pieces of evidence from your textbook reading to support your new answer. You've got to be highly specific when you're working on this assignment to make sure you answer all parts of the question. Sweeping generalizations? They aren't going to earn your credit here. You need concrete examples drawn directly from your reading.
To succeed and grab that full credit, you need to be extremely precise. For every single one of those 3 pieces of evidence, you must provide 4 very distinct things. First, a brief 3 to 5 sentence summary of the evidence itself. Second, a 3 to 5 sentence explanation of what that evidence fundamentally shows. Third, a 3 to 5 sentence explanation of exactly how it answers the historical question. And lastly, you have to provide the specific textbook page numbers where you found it. I can't stress this enough. Answer all parts of the prompt to maximize your score. And to actually earn those points, you have to demonstrate critical thinking by explaining how the evidence connects back to the question entirely in your own words. You cannot just copy and paste text from the book. Doing that just proves you know how to highlight text. It doesn't prove you know how to analyze it. You need to paraphrase clear information, use complete sentences with proper grammar, and truly unpack the historical significance of what you just read. Let's wrap up with Section 5, the final reflection. This final step brings us right to the end of your week. The reflection assignment is worth 20 points, and it's your opportunity to look back at your entire learning process. You're basically contrasting what you initially thought at the start of the week with the hard evidence you gathered by the end. It's about internalizing how your own understanding of these historical developments has evolved. It's a great moment to just pause and recognize your own intellectual growth. In a single 200 to 250 word response, you have to address 3 specific prompts. 1. What difficulties did you have answering the historical question and finding evidence? 2. What specific piece of evidence was the most convincing to you and why? And 3. What other questions might historians consider about this topic that are not yet answered? Your response here really needs to dive deeply into your personal learning and analytical process. Keep in mind, to get full credit here, you need to provide specific examples of the difficulties you faced or precisely why a certain piece of evidence swayed your opinion. Please don't just say it was hard to find evidence. That doesn't really tell us anything. Explain why it was hard based on how the text was written, the complexity of the era, or maybe conflicting primary sources. Show us your thought process. Give us a window into exactly how you interacted with the history. So as you tackle your coursework this semester, keep this roadmap at the very front of your mind. You absolutely must complete these 5 assignments in this exact order to build your understanding step by step. Start with your baseline guess, comprehensively build your context through the reading and videos, test your general knowledge, analyze specific evidence, and finally, reflect on your growth. This structure is specifically designed to optimize your success in the course. By following this strict, sequential structure, you won't just be memorizing dry facts. You're going to be actively uncovering history. You'll be making bold claims, defending them with hard evidence, and analyzing the fascinating, complex history of Kentucky. So jump into that first module sequentially. The past is waiting for you. What will you uncover when you finally start thinking like a historian?